vibrate my phone. Greetings, hi, hello. I'm firelotusthewitch, and thank you so much for being here in this video. I almost said live. Um, so just like the title describes, this is just going to be like a let spirit talk, basically. Kind of what I do in the lives, but with some of the knowledge that I have. So there's going to be a lot of different types of witchy tips in here, and yes, I am currently drinking tea, which I normally never do, but my throat, it's been fucking with me. So, anyways. And yes, that tea is on my altar. So, altars. Let's start with altars. Do you need an altar? Like, absolutely have to have one? No. No, you do not. Now, I would encourage you to create some type of sacred space, whether that is just a nook in the corner, a place outside, a book nook, somewhere that you can go and either read about your spiritual journey and or your magical practice. Um, Now, with that being said, I do encourage you to create altars. But the great thing about altars is they do not have to be the like aesthetic shit that you see online. Now, depending on how you originally entered into your witchy journey, me with most other people from my generation, in the 80s, basically Wicca. And in Wicca, they specifically teach you a very, very strict way of doing it. Now, again, ADHD brain here, so I'm gonna be jumping all over the place, but I'm telling you, there's a shit ton of knowledge in here. Um, there's nothing really wrong with Wicca except for some of the creators behind it, and the fact that it can become very toxic with the misconception that they have about the Threefold Law. So the Threefold Law was actually a poem that was it was written by one of the members in the coven, one of the covens. I'm not good with names, so again, you know how to do research though. So, but um, they wrote the poem, and it basically kind of became law. But what they didn't understand was there is a more modern day misinterpretation of that. What they originally meant by the threefold law, bind the wicked law ye must, in perfect love and perfect trust. 8 words the wicked read fulfill, any harm none, do what ye will. Whatever you send out comes back to thee, so ever mind the law of 3. And then I think it's like as it will, so mote it be. What that meant though was not that you're not supposed to harm anybody. It was the fact that if somebody fucked with you or somebody on a magical stance threw something at you to harm you in any way, shape, or form, or your family, your loved ones, or friends, you were supposed to take what they threw you and throw it back times 3. It's not the, whatever you send out into the universe is going to bitch slap you times 3. That falls under to the same misinformation and misusage of the original term and spiritual meaning of karma. The way that people are using karma in this life. Now, I was told that there's actually like 3 different, technically there's 3 different stages or types of karma, but most people say that, karma's a bitch. It's going to get you. Originally, though, the baseline meaning of that was the karma that came from your past life you were dealing with in this life. What I mean by that was the way that you acted, the karma that you built up in that life, you're going to relive and experience in this life because you're trying to learn from that. You're trying to learn from those lessons. And all the things you do in this life, the karma that you've gained up in this life, will follow you to the next life and or until you eventually reach a nirvana state and or a state of a spiritual person to where it's almost like you don't really do anything wrong, or you're just kind of here. You don't really get attacked, but again, that goes into Hinduism. So, and if you were going to use those terms, and if you were also going to use, and I'm sorry for the people that are from this place and actually do practices. I'm sorry if I mispronounce this. The chakra system or chakras also originally researched the like root meanings behind that, because how we have it here in the Western world, it's so fucked up it's not even funny. So yeah, research that. Now there are different types of energy points. In I believe Celtic. I don't know if it's Scottish. I know it's Celtic. They also kind of believe in the 3 cauldrons, which are 3 power points throughout your body. And then it gets deeper with the Kabbalah and more PowerPoints, and yeah, but research those individually. And you do not have to rush. We're not all on the same, this is not like we're in high school where we're all in the same class and we're going through the same grades. That's the reason fucking public school doesn't work for half the fucking people here in the United States, because they don't teach you anything. They teach you to remember. That's not what witchcraft is. Now, if you're first starting out and you're like, okay, well, where the fuck do I begin? That is the most asked question any witch asks. And yes, I just called you a witch because, in fact, if you want, or if you think you are, at least you're a novice or, you know, a witch in beginning, or a seedling. But basically, I would start what interests you the most. Originally, I'd still tell people that the first year of doing this, I would actually stick with what the Wiccans do, as in a year and a day. The reason this is because I like Wicca due to the fact that it is extremely organized. Why is this important? Because starting out, due to the fact of how much information, how many different paths that are out there when it comes to witchcraft, you're going to get overwhelmed. Wicca, due to the fact that it is technically we'll say the classes that you can do, a lot of Wiccan books are actually written for like a year and a day. Another one, I'm not going to say it's actually Wiccan, but another of my amazing authors that I love, Christopher Penczak, his books are also written like that, as in, as you're reading it, the entire book is it's a booklet, it's a workbook. Now, I will state he teaches completely different. I love the way he teaches. The first book and your first year, you're not really going to focus on what you would focus on a more traditional Wiccan one, or just a Wiccan one. He actually teaches you how to do everything up here in your mind, to create your mindscape and everything like that. The second book is to bring what you learned in your first year out into the physical world. I love it. Those books like helped me in my personal practice. They literally helped set the foundations behind it. Now, when I did them and went through them, I actually did have another practitioner, one of my exes. So we actually worked through them together. We had like a binder and everything. Because in order to take your practice serious, now before I say this, I understand mundane jobs, mundane things. I understand everybody's going to have a different life. And I primarily did this when I was younger. As in, like, I started fully practicing and identifying as a witch at the age of 13. I started originally reading and researching it as much as I could at the ages of 11 or 12. And then after that, I haven't stopped ever since. Have there been moments that you walk away from your practice? Yes, 1,000%. Are there moments that you will not go anywhere near your altar? Yes, 1,000%. The reason this is because fucking mundane world. Spirituality, the way that I see it, and your personal practice, it's to heal the heart, it's to heal the soul, and it's to heal the spirit. Not necessarily on a physical or a mental state. Now, you can, with the help of a mental health specialist and a doctor, yes, you heard me right, if you were on any type of pharmaceuticals prescribed by a doctor for your mental shenanigans, do not take do not take yourself off of them. There we go. Fuck. Do not stop taking them. You can, in fact, I encourage you to take the medication that is prescribed by your doctor. Why? Because it's going to help your mental state. By balancing your mental state out, it's also going to help balance your physical body out. In other words, you can line everything up. I'm bipolar, so I don't mean you're going to be like normal, but you can line these things up. Turn your daily mental health regimen also into a daily practice, or incorporate your daily practice into your mental health regimen. Trust me, when I was on medication and I did have like health insurance, you know, the good old days before you turn fucking 18, that's what I used to do. I made it my own personal ritual to make sure that I was taking care of myself. Because at the end of the day, that's the point of it. Because depending on what you believe, we are spiritual people having a mundane meat suit experience. That's the entire point of life in itself. So never forget that. And you were going to see so many fucking people in the witchy and spiritual, especially the spiritual side, tell you that you're not supposed to use this, you're not supposed to use deodorant, perfume. Tell them the fuck right on off, okay? It's your practice. Now, with that, there are slight, we'll say, guidelines depending on what you're trying to do. If you are trying to summon or communicate with an ancient being, whether that is a divine being as in a god or goddess, or anything that falls in all the other places with that, respect. Respect is key. But with that, and the fine balance between that, and this is what a lot of people, I'm not really hearing them say, when you go to do a spell word, when you go to, say, cleanse your house, when you go to sign a petition, when you go to, like, state something to the universe, the more confidence and authoritating you feel and sound, the higher chances that that is going to work out more. Why is this? Now, I suffer with self-esteem problems. It's a constant struggle of mine. But you know what? So is life. I'm here. I've been through hell and back. I'm still here, though, right? So with that, and actually what the first 3 years of my Wiccan courses, as in basically I would find as much information online or any small books that I could get my hands on and basically write all that shit down and kind of go from there. It sucked growing up back in the like 80s and 90s, and even into the early 2000s, because here in America, the only books you could really find were Wiccan books, or like the stereotype of like the, yeah. Trust me, it was, yeah. Anyways, with that though, oh my god, ADHD brain. We were talking about mental health. We were talking about resonance. We were talking about there we go. The number one things that I took from some of those books is the authoritating. Now, when I mean authoritating, it makes sense. Say you have some type of entity. We're not using the term negative. You just have some type of energy in your house that you want out. If you go up to it, shoulders like, hunched over it like I normally walk, and you're like, please leave, they're going to look at you and be like, excuse the fuck out of me, versus, and if you are a parent right now, you damn sure, or a teacher, it's that voice. You need that, like, father voice, like, get the fuck out of my house. See, you need to show your strength and your confidence, and working through this practice will help you find that. A lot of people will also tell you that when it comes to deep diving into witchcraft, is you also, through the process of that, you find your own personal power. Now, again, that's not personal power where I'm shooting shit out of my hand, I'm waving a magic wand, and shit's just appearing. I wish. Do you know what the stoner side of me would do? Oh my god. Holy shit, I would become so unhealthy, it's not even funny, because every single time a fucking commercial comes by, and y'all know this, if you get the munchies, you know damn well what YouTube and TikTok and all the other apps do. It's like they sense the fact that you eat food and you get the munchies, so they're going to show you all these commercials of things you cannot have. If I could whippity-whoppity-boom, holy shit. Anyways, sorry about that. Also, you can use that in your practice as well. There's not that many books out there, and the most books that you will find about that specific subject and using it in a magical practice, most of them are meditations. Now, with the link tree listed below, yes, my link tree, if you go down to the third link, which should be named Magical Library, it's a wish list of all the books I have in my practice now that you can find on Amazon. And the reason I did that is because I had people asking me, like, can you give us a list of your library? I also have book recommendations on my profile as well. But if you click that, there is an actual stoner book that I have. It didn't have as much information as I wanted to. Like, some of it was information that I already knew, but it's still a great kind of book to have, even if you just, like, leave it on your coffee table. It'll start conversations, but it's also good to read, because I learned that a lot of different cultures and practices actually believe that it can be known or used in your practice as the breath of life. What do I mean by that? Now we're about to talk about sigils, because there are so many people that don't talk about sigils. As in activating the sigil. When you create a sigil, whether that is online or offline, and I will try my best to remember to either add it to the video description and or in the comments after this is posted, of a website that I use for the people that are not, there's so many witches you're not going to like what I'm about to say. Yes, I use a website to create. There are actually 2 websites. There's technically 3, and I'll post all 3 of them if I can, to where you can actually just type in something and boom. Now, there's one that actually uses a little bit of AI with it, so that's really cool. As in the fast, depending on how fast you type, is depending on the shape and shit that it will, but it does form, because there are different types of sigils. There's like the Saturn square sigil, I want to say Alistair, but I'm not for sure. The ones that are in the circle, if you're on TikTok, you've seen them in profiles, those. That's where they got them from, and or they made them themselves. There are hundreds of different ways to make sigils. If you would like me to do a more in-depth video on that one, I totally will. Just let me know in the comments below. See, I'm getting better at this. But whenever you create a sigil, you have to activate it. Well, how the hell do I activate it, Fire? I'm glad you asked. You can do this, literally put it in your hands and go, boom. You can, like I said before, and I can't say that because if you're not 18, you should not be watching this channel, okay? Okay. But yeah, if you are a partaker, you're blowing life into it. Now, if you do not partake, you can still just literally blow on it because you're blowing life into it. You can burn it. Burning the original one will actually activate it. You can also activate it with oils. You can activate it with crystals. It all depends on how you do your witchcraft and energy manipulation. That is what witchcraft is at the end of the day. It is manipulating the atoms and ions around you to get a desired outcome. It's also a little bit of alchemy because you're transmuting a lot of shit too. What do I mean by this? So say there are 5 candles in a circle around me, right? Between each one of those white 5 candles, there are at least 4 different crystals, right? Okay, so amethyst, quartz, rose quartz, and obsidian, right? So how I do it in my practice, I would take my pendulum and or one of the wands, the mini tools or other tools that I have, and I will basically use that pendulum and I'll go to the first candle and I'll connect with that energy, and then I'll go slightly over that and connect with the crystal, and then connect the candle. And basically I'm going to keep doing this until all of those are connected to each other. Like you're creating this open source and closed source at the same time, right? So then what you're going to do then, before you even light the candles, is you're going to kind of create a funnel cloud, if you will, depending on how you want to visualize it, where you're mixing all of those energies together to where they basically spin to where they just completely blend. Another example of this is what sometimes the cauldron can be used for in our practice. What does the cauldron do? You put stuff under it, you put stuff in it, normally you heat the bitch up. You're cooking under pressure. You're transmuting energy. As in transmuting energy from taking 6 to 7 different objects, connecting with the essence of those, then connecting them all in this perfect harmony of circles. And in the process of that, you're transmuting it so it goes from these 5 individual or 7 individual energies to this one whole new energy. That is your spell. When you light the candles, boom, it's releasing that. That's one of the reasons fire is known as you can create with it. And I love it because if you look at the elements, this is just the way that I learned it: north, south, east, and west, earth, air, fire, and water. Okay. If you look at the way those elements are used, you kind of look at life. Like, also, here's another thing. If you're obsessed with the craft, you learned a lot of this as well because the movie The Craft, technically the first and the remake, or whatever the second one was, the new generation one, they actually did have a practicing priestess on set on both films. Actually, originally in the first one, a lot of the locations that they filmed on, like the beach location, that had been they've had witches practice in there for years. And when they did a lot of their spells, they actually did like go all out, especially when they were invoking Menel, which is the beach scene. And half the beach scene either tried washing away, they had outages, they had lightning strikes, a lot of crazy shit happened on there. But using those things right there and just the elements and the knowledge of them, it can get you so far in your practice. Now, the number one thing I do not want you to fall into the hole of is, for one, self-doubt, and for two, you will fail. You will fail, you will fail, and you will fail again. That is the point. Trial and error. The more you use it, the more you do magic, the more you hone it in. Well, what if I have psychic ability? That will literally grow with it. I don't know what the connection is besides if I guess it's pure energy, listening to your instincts and listening to your intuition, but they are inherently the same. 100%. Like, if you ever have a person who just gets spiritually, they don't open up to witchcraft, but they get spiritual where like they start to believe in like the vibrations of things and things like that, normally their psychic abilities also awaken in it. So in some way, shape, or form, it is like connected. Oh, weird spot on the floor. Okay. So, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, sigils. Activating the sigils. You can also use oil and everything like that. You can also do the same thing as runes. You need to kind of activate it. Now, when it comes to crystals, you can also hold them in your hand and assign them a job. What do I mean by that? You're going to do the same thing with herbs and basically all the other correspondences that you use in spell work. The reason that is because this is a celestial smoky quartz. Now, it is faded, but also known, I believe, as a alligator alligator quartz and or candle quartz. But it is one of those very high vibrational ones. It's known as a master healer crystal just because of the celestial aspect of it. But this probably has over 100 fucking uses for it, right? So if I just throw this in a spell, it's gonna probably sit there and be like, all right, what now, boss? Like, what direction am I going in? You gotta assign it a task, especially if you're wearing it and or using it in your practice. And that's basically just researching what that metaphysical term or what the metaphysical properties have been used for. Because see, there's metaphysical, there's spiritual, and then there's a magical property. Some people say they're all the same. Other people, like if you were to look at Scott Cunningham's herbal book, he has that in there too, where it's like magical. He doesn't use the term spiritual. And then Silver Raven Wolf's giant grimoire, it's supposed to be the ultimate grimoire. In the rune section, you'll see magical usage, and then you'll see practical usage. But it's the way that you use it. But you're going to assign it a job. You're basically going to hold it in your hand and be like, yo, this particularly is great for helping, not just fully zapping, but helping in the process of removing generational curses and hexes and things like that. Also, it's just great for accessing and helping you be able to connect to your ancestors. So are fossils. Fossils are really good to use. But that's what you're going to ask it to do. You're going to be like, hey, I need you to help me with this. And you will lose crystals. Crystals will literally just, vanish out of thin air. Some people believe that due to the fact of how high vibrational they are, that like once they serve their purpose, that's it, they're done. I believe that because I've lost crystals and then had those exact same crystals come back to me. The most recent crystal that I lost was a lavenderite piece that my partner had got me when we first got together. And as I was hanging out with him, doing some things for the company he works for, basically kind of just following him around, hanging out with him that day, I was filming some creepy TikTok videos, and in the process of walking through some tall grass, it hit it. It was reinforced with polymer clay, so it hit it at the right moment, and I lost it. It's okay though; it has been replaced. I got to support this amazing jewelry store that's been like in the same family for like 70 years. From Etsy, so I got to support them, which was amazing. But yeah, crystals are going to do that. Now, some people also believe that once you get a crystal and it ends, it means that that journey that it needed to help you with is going to go away. When it comes to deity work, depending on how you learn it, most people believe that if a deity does present itself to you, now, if you check out my live reading that I did yesterday, midway through that video, almost to the end, there's a special message to the people that it resonates with about deity work and a new shift coming this fall of energies you'll be working with and working around. But the reason they will come to you is because they can assist you in your life journey and your spiritual journey, whether that is that specific archetype or energy of said deity is the one that can actually like get you through and or get you to see specific points, whether that's like self-growth, self-healing, things like that. Now if you're drawn to one specific, go about your way and go do research, proper research, and ask them if they would like to work with you. They may say yes, they may say no. They are their own individual beings. And then with that, I'm going to kind of end it with this one, and then I'm going to film a couple more of these. Let me know if y'all like these types of videos. I feel like some people will, because if you have neurodivergency or like ADHD, you'll relate to it. But I know some people may be annoyed by this. I'm sorry. I'm working with how my brain feels today. But shadow work, it is a huge fucking topic. Now, there are technically two definitions about this day and age. There are like two definitions. There is a more, I'm going to hate to use this word, but it's the only proper term to use, shamanic approach to what they believe in shadow work versus Carl Jung's. Now, Carl Jung could have got that from him. I don't really know. Carl Jung's shadow work is basically therapy, as in actually a licensed and trained therapist. That's what they learn. And basically what it does is over time, it breaks your egos down. But the problem is with this, and the reason I keep saying stop pushing it so fucking much online, let people find it themselves if they're drawn to it. But the reason it can be dangerous is because if you've had any type of trigger warning, if you've had any type of trauma in the crucial developments of the ages of crucial development in us, you never formed a complete ego. trauma will actually prevent that ego from fully forming, which is why we have like insecurities and shit like that. Yeah. Yeah, I know it sucks, but you can get over it because I'm slowly getting over it every single day. Now, the other side to that, and in Christopher Pinzak's third book, he goes over it. Shamans believe, or some shamans, not all, some of them believe, actually, I believe all of them in some way, shape, or form have the same base principle of it. They believe that in order to walk 1 foot in the human mundane world versus 1 foot in the spiritual world. Now, when I mean this, I mean they are constantly, they're split. They're constantly, they have 1 foot in the spiritual world and then 1 foot over here. In order to do that, you have to come to terms with everything that triggers you or triggers an insecurity. Basically, the way the process of that, without it being extreme, because there is a meditation in that book that unless you were, don't go rushing into it like I did. But basically it is, there are some meditations to where you will actually manifest inside your like mindscape a full on, it's like you're going to be looking in a mirror, but it's all the things that you don't like about your personal self. And then eventually you'll come to self-acceptance and self-love and self-healing and self-forgiveness. Those are the crucial steps in that. So instead of reliving your trauma, staying in your trauma, which is what Carl Jung's shit does, depending on how it's taught, you don't go anywhere near your trauma. You just tackle your insecurities of asking yourself why. What situation and how did that situation play out to where it made you think that it's an insecurity? It made you question it. Once you get over those, then boom. Now, with that in general, if you do feel called to do it, by all means, you do you, but I prefer you to only do that type of shadow work with a licensed therapist. And the reason that is, personal example, I was supposed to do this entire month, or at least through the weeks, of shadow work prompts. I did 3 of them. I have complex PTSD. Complex meaning it's different for everybody, but it's extreme. I did not think that it was going to affect it. I literally was focusing on like my insecurities, like what caused that to be an insecurity. And then I wrote a letter to my past self, and I think I did 1 or 2 other ones. It created ripple effects and shock waves of insecurities that I have not had for fucking years, right? Just like worries, things that I have not experienced and or even thought about for years randomly come up for about a 2-week to 3-week period. And it was not only affecting me in a negative way, but it was also eventually affecting my partner. I was having emotions come up, and I didn't understand where they were coming from. That's the danger in it. If you're living with somebody or if you're in a relationship, you need to let them know that these things may happen. And I'm not going to use the term mood swing because it's not really like a mood swing. It's like all of a sudden waking up one day and then you have all of these emotions swirling inside of you that you haven't felt for probably 10 years. Did it help? No. It sent me through 2 fucking different, and when I mean different, as in I've never had these types of fucking PTSD experiences before. But yeah, two of them. Normally, depending on like everything that's going on, I can go anywhere from 2 to 3 months, if not longer, without having that type of panic attack. Because PTSD episodes are slightly different than just like a panic attack. So yeah, I stopped. I completely stopped. And I will not be returning to that. I will be returning to journaling and just, asking myself these questions, but I'm not going to try to pick scabs because take it from someone, again, who has complex PTSD. There was a scab that was revealed to me the other night when I went through that episode that I never knew fucking existed. So be careful out there, please. Do not let somebody online, just because they have 1 million followers, encourage you or influence you into doing something that your own spirit's team, spirit guides, whatever deities and energies you work with, they're not telling you to do it. So why would you be doing it? Because it's trendy? But anyways, I'm going to cut this one right now because it's at 29.24, so it'll probably be about 32 minutes long. At any point in time, if you would like to book a magical consultation with me, which is basically just we'll talk to see whether you need a reading or you need some type of spell work, and or if you would like to book a reading with me or some type of custom spell work, you can always email me. That'll be linked below as well. I do them Monday through Friday, and I do 5 readings per day. And depending on the spell work, I can do anywhere from 2 to 3. Normally nothing over there. Normally I like to space them out. Or if you just have a magical question that you can't really seem to find resources or even answers to, shoot me an email. I will try to help in any way, shape, or form that I can. On top of that, if you would like to join our community, click the link tree because we have a Discord, Lotus Hollow. We also have a Facebook page, although you're going to have to email me for that one because it is private. And yeah, if you want to follow me, follow my podcast, my Instagram, my TikToks, you can find all of that there. And if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. Again, my end goal this year is to break 1,000 subscribers, and we are so close to breaking 700 subscribers. So we're getting there. That would be my cat fucking around in the kitchen. So on that note, I will see y'all later. And as always, I hope y'all are having a magical fucking day. You're wanted, you are loved, and you have a purpose. Whether you see it or not, you have one. So don't go anywhere, okay? Okay. Check in with you later.